You're living someone else's life. Right now, as you read this, you're executing programs that were written by people who don't even know your name. Your morning routine, your emotional reactions, your automatic responses to stress, boredom, and uncertainty. You think you're making choices, but you're running code. And the most terrifying part? You can't see it happening. Every morning, you wake up with the same intentions. Today will be different. Today, you'll finally break free from the patterns that keep you stuck. Today, you'll become the person you know you're capable of being. But by noon, you're scrolling again. By evening, you're back to the same habits. By bedtime, you're making the same promises to a future version of yourself who will inevitably disappoint you. This cycle has been running for months, maybe years, and each repetition makes you feel smaller, weaker, more convinced that you're fundamentally broken. But you're not broken. You're trapped in a system so sophisticated, so invisible, so perfectly designed to keep you exactly where you are that you mistake its operation for your own personality. This isn't a failure of character. This isn't about lacking willpower or discipline or motivation. This is about being imprisoned by your own neurology, held captive by the very brain that's supposed to serve you. Neuroscience has a name for your captor, the habit loop, and it's been controlling you longer than you realize. Here's what they don't tell you in therapy, in self-help books, in productivity courses, in the endless stream of content promising to fix your life. 40% of your daily actions aren't decisions at all. They're automatic responses, programs running in the background of your consciousness while you live under the illusion of free will. You reach for your phone before your feet hit the floor, not because you decided to, but because your brain executed a program written by thousands of repetitions. You procrastinate on the same tasks, react to stress in the same destructive ways, make the same excuses, fall into the same emotional patterns, not because you're weak, but because you're running software that was installed without your permission. Think about your last truly productive day. How long did it last before you felt the familiar pull toward distraction? How many times did you catch yourself doing something you didn't consciously choose to do? That pull isn't coming from outside you. It's coming from neural pathways so deeply carved into your brain that your body moves before your mind realizes what's happening. But here's the part that will make you angry. You've been lied to about how change actually works. The billion-dollar self-improvement industry has built its empire on a fundamental deception that you can think your way to a different life. That motivation creates lasting transformation. That willpower is the key to breaking free. Every January, millions of Americans fall for this lie. They feel inspired, energized, ready to become someone new. They set ambitious goals, create detailed plans, promise themselves that this time will be different. By February, 92% have already quit, not because they're failures, but because they're fighting a war with the wrong weapons against an enemy they can't see. The enemy isn't your lack of discipline. It's not your busy schedule, or your stressful job, or your difficult circumstances. The enemy is the neurological architecture that makes certain behaviors feel inevitable, while others feel impossible. And that architecture was built without your consent. Every habit you've ever formed, good or bad, exists because your brain made a simple, ruthless calculation. This behavior increases survival odds, not happiness, not success, not fulfillment, just survival. Your brain doesn't care if scrolling social media for 3 hours makes you feel empty and disconnected. It only cares that the behavior provided hits of dopamine, which signal safety and social connection. Two things your ancient brain equates with not dying alone. Your brain doesn't care if procrastination is destroying your career. It only cares that avoiding difficult tasks provides immediate relief from discomfort, which your survival system interprets as successful. Threat avoidance. Your brain doesn't care if you hate yourself for eating junk food at midnight. It only cares that the behavior provided quick energy and comfort, which your primitive reward system logs as a successful transaction. This is the hidden architecture of automatic behavior, and it operates below the level of conscious thought, below the reach of willpower, below the influence of good intentions. It's why you can intellectually understand exactly what you need to do to change your life, yet find yourself unable to do it consistently. It's why you can feel genuinely motivated on Sunday night and completely unmotivated by Wednesday morning. It's why you can make the same resolution 50 times and break it 51. You're not fighting your habits. You're fighting millions of years of evolutionary programming designed to keep you alive in a world that no longer exists. But here's the secret that changes everything. The same system that traps you can free you. The same neurological mechanisms that lock you into destructive patterns can be redirected toward behaviors that serve your highest goals. The same brain that makes bad habits feel inevitable can make good habits feel automatic. The same reward system that keeps you scrolling can keep you focused on meaningful work. You just need to know how to reprogram the code. What you're about to discover isn't another productivity hack or motivational framework. This is the actual science of how your brain creates patterns, and how those patterns can be rewritten at the neurological level. You're about to learn why the 21-day habit myth is not just wrong, but dangerous. Why willpower is the enemy of lasting change. Why your environment is more powerful than your intentions. Why motivation is a trap that keeps you stuck in cycles of temporary progress and inevitable regression. And most importantly, you're going to discover the identity shift that makes transformation inevitable instead of impossible. The person you've been trying to become through force and discipline, they're not waiting for you to get stronger. They're waiting for you to get smarter. They're waiting for you to understand that real change doesn't happen through dramatic moments of inspiration or heroic acts of willpower. It happens in the quiet space between stimulus and response, where you choose who you want to be. It happens when you stop fighting your brain and start working with it. It happens when you realize that you're not broken. You're just running the wrong program. And programs can always be rewritten. Your brain is not trying to help you succeed. It's trying to keep you alive. Understanding this difference will change everything about how you approach transformation. Because once you see the invisible prison, you can find the hidden door. Your brain is not trying to help you. It's trying to keep you alive. And there's a difference that changes everything. Every habit you've ever formed, good or bad, exists because your brain made a simple, ruthless calculation. This behavior increases survival odds. Not happiness, not success, not fulfillment, just survival. This is the hidden architecture of automatic behavior, and it operates through a three-part neurological pathway that neuroscience calls the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. But here's what they don't tell you. This loop isn't governed by logic, it's governed by emotional prediction. Your brain doesn't analyze whether a habit serves your future self. It simply asks, did this behavior make me feel safer last time? Picture this. Your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part, is still booting up. But your limbic system, the survival-focused part, is already running the program. The cue triggers an emotional response, not a logical decision. Maybe it's anxiety. What if something important happened while I slept? Your brain doesn't evaluate this fear rationally. It just knows that checking your phone has provided relief before, so the routine executes automatically. Scroll Instagram, check emails, scan news, and the reward follows. Temporary relief from uncertainty, brief hits of novelty, the illusion of connection. Your brain logs this as a successful transaction and strengthens the neural pathways that made it happen. This is behavioral inertia in action. Once established, habit loops require less conscious energy to maintain. Think about your drive to work. You can't remember half the turns because the pathway became so efficient, it runs without conscious input. But here's the dangerous part. Your brain doesn't distinguish between habits that serve your goals and habits that sabotage them. It only recognizes patterns that provided emotional reward in the past. This neurological blindness is why breaking bad habits feels impossible. You're not just changing behavior, you're rewiring pathways your brain has marked as essential for survival. The most insidious aspect? It operates through micro-rewards. You don't need massive dopamine hits. Small, consistent emotional payoffs are more powerful than large, infrequent ones. Every notification is a cue. Every scroll is a routine. Every like is a reward. Your brain interprets this as, this behavior keeps me connected to my tribe, which your ancient survival system equates with not dying alone. Understanding this architecture changes everything. Because once you realize habits aren't moral failures, they're neurological programs, you can start approaching change differently. You stop fighting your brain and start reprogramming it. You've been sold the biggest lie in personal development, the lie that motivation creates lasting change. Every January, millions of Americans fall for this deception. They feel inspired, energized, ready to transform. By February, 92% have already quit. Not because they're weak, because they built their change on the shakiest foundation possible: temporary emotion. Here's what neuroscience reveals. Motivation is just a feeling, and feelings are temporary by design. Your brain cycles through emotional states every 90 minutes. That Sunday night excitement about your new routine? It's chemically impossible for it to last until Wednesday. But there's something deeper, something that operates below motivation, below willpower, below conscious effort, something that determines your behavior even when you don't feel like it. Identity alignment. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are, not who you want to become, who you believe you already are right now. Picture this. 6 a.m., rainy Tuesday. Your alarm screams. You plan to hit the gym, but you're exhausted and your bed feels perfect. Motivation is nowhere. So what determines whether you get up or hit snooze? Your self-concept. If you see yourself as someone trying to get fit, you'll probably stay in bed. Because people who are trying make exceptions. They negotiate. They wait for perfect conditions. But if you see yourself as someone who works out, you'll get up. Not from motivation, because that's what people like you do. The behavior flows from identity, not emotion. This is neural consistency in action. Your brain has a powerful drive to keep actions aligned with beliefs about yourself. When behavior contradicts identity, your brain experiences stress called cognitive dissonance. It will either change the behavior to match the identity, or change the identity to match the behavior. Most people accidentally choose the second option. They act inconsistently, then update their self-concept downward. I guess I'm not disciplined. I'm not good with money. I'm not the type who follows through. But you can deliberately choose the first option. Use cognitive dissonance as fuel for change. The process is profound. Instead of trying to change habits, change identity. Instead of, I want to write, say, I am a writer. Instead of, I want to get healthy, try, I am someone who takes care of their body. This isn't positive thinking. It's behavioral integrity. When you claim an identity, your brain works to prove it's true. Every small action becomes evidence. Every workout becomes proof you prioritize health. Identity change doesn't happen through declaration. It happens through evidence. You can't just decide you're disciplined. You have to prove it, one small action at a time. Start microscopic. Want to be organized? Make your bed. Want to be a reader? Read one page. Each tiny action is a vote for your new identity. When you accumulate enough votes, the identity feedback loop kicks in. Your brain notices. I keep doing things disciplined people do. Maybe I am disciplined. Once that shift happens, disciplined choices become automatic. Not from motivation, because that's simply who you are. Your brain is being hijacked by a chemical more addictive than cocaine. Right now, as you read this, there's a neurochemical system operating in your head that's more powerful than gambling, more accessible than your next breath, and more dangerous than you realize. Dopamine, but not the way you think. Popular culture taught you that dopamine is the pleasure chemical, that it makes you feel good when you get what you want. That's completely wrong. Dopamine doesn't create pleasure, it creates wanting. It's not the reward, it's the anticipation of reward, and that difference is destroying your life. Here's how the dopamine feedback loop actually works. Your brain releases dopamine not when you get something good, but when you expect something good might happen. It's the neurochemical of possibility, of maybe this time will be different. Picture this. You're deep in important work, but you keep glancing at your phone. You're not even conscious of it. Your hand just reaches over, picks it up, checks. Notifications, nothing important. You put it down. 5 minutes later, you do it again. This isn't weak willpower. This is your dopamine system running a program designed to keep you alive, but now keeping you distracted. Every phone check triggers a small dopamine hit in anticipation of what you might find. A text from someone important, an email with good news, a notification that makes you feel seen. Your brain doesn't know if you'll find anything. It just knows that sometimes you do. This is called reward prediction error, and it's the foundation of every addiction. When rewards are unpredictable, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Your brain becomes obsessed with checking. The uncertainty itself becomes the drug. Social media companies understand this better than you understand yourself. They've engineered platforms to deliver instant gratification on variable schedules. Sometimes you get likes, sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's interesting content, sometimes it's boring. But your brain keeps checking because maybe this time will be the time. The result? Habit reinforcement, so powerful, you'll interrupt important conversations, productive work, even intimate moments to check a device that contains nothing urgent 99% of the time. Here's where it gets dangerous. Your brain doesn't distinguish between high-value and low-value dopamine triggers. The same system that once motivated your ancestors to hunt for food now motivates you to hunt for notifications. The same mechanism that drove survival behaviors now drives you to scroll through endless feeds of strangers' opinions. This is neurochemical, hijack in its purest form. Your ancient reward system has been co-opted by technologies that provide the sensation of seeking without any actual benefit. These micro-rewards are designed to be just satisfying enough to keep you coming back, but never satisfying enough to fulfill you. It's like eating cotton candy when you're hungry. Brief sugar rush, but you're more depleted than before. Your brain interprets this as, I need to keep seeking. The real reward must be around the corner. So you check again. Each time, the dopamine hit gets smaller, but the compulsion gets stronger. Understanding this trap is the first step to escaping it. The goal isn't eliminating dopamine, it's redirecting it toward behaviors that actually serve your goals. The most powerful moment in any habit loop isn't when you're doing the behavior, it's the split second before you start. That microsecond, when your brain receives a cue and decides which program to run. Most people never notice this moment. It happens too fast, below conscious awareness. But if you can learn to catch it, you can change everything. This is cue awareness. And it's the difference between being controlled by your habits and controlling them. Picture this. You're working on a crucial presentation. You hit a challenging section and feel mental resistance. Without thinking, your hand reaches for your phone. But what if, in that instant before your fingers touch the screen, you could pause and ask, what just happened? What triggered this urge? The trigger wasn't boredom. It wasn't weak willpower. It was your brain detecting difficulty and automatically running a program designed to provide relief. The cue was cognitive strain. The routine was reaching for distraction. The reward was temporary escape from discomfort. But once you can see the cue, you can interrupt the pattern. Neuroscience shows there's a brief window, about 0.25 seconds, between stimulus and response. In that window, your prefrontal cortex can override your limbic system's automatic programming, but only if you've trained yourself to notice when the program is about to run. This is pattern interruption in action. It's not stopping behavior through force, it's catching the trigger before behavior becomes inevitable. Most cues fall into 5 categories: time, location, emotional state, other people, or preceding action. Your 3 p.m. energy crash, time. Walking past the kitchen, location. Feeling overwhelmed after a difficult meeting, emotional state. Being around friends who always suggest ordering takeout, other people. Finishing one task and automatically checking email, preceding action. The key is developing preemptive mindfulness, noticing these triggers as they happen, not after you've already responded. Here's a practical example. Jessica noticed she always checked Instagram when feeling stressed at work. The cue wasn't her phone buzzing, it was the internal sensation of overwhelm. Once she identified this pattern, she could intervene. When she felt that familiar wave of stress, instead of automatically reaching for her phone, she took 3 deep breaths and asked, what does this feeling need right now? Sometimes the answer was a 5-minute walk. Sometimes it was breaking the overwhelming task into smaller pieces. Sometimes it was simply acknowledging the stress without trying to escape it. But by catching the cue, she could choose her response instead of running the automatic program. This is stimulus control, designing your environment and awareness to catch triggers before they activate unwanted behaviors. It's becoming the observer of your own patterns instead of their unconscious victim. The most effective approach is behavioral substitution. Instead of eliminating the cue, often impossible, you replace the routine with something that provides similar reward, but serves your goals. Feeling the urge to scroll when bored? Keep a book nearby and reach for that instead. Same cue, boredom. Same reward, mental stimulation. But now you're building knowledge instead of fragmenting attention. The moment you can see the cue is the moment you reclaim control over your behavior. Willpower is a myth, not because it doesn't exist, but because it's the wrong tool for the job. Every time you rely on willpower to change behavior, You're trying to win a war by fighting the same battle repeatedly. And your brain, with 86 billion neurons and millions of years of evolutionary programming, will win that war every single time. Here's what neuroscience reveals about willpower fatigue. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for self-control, operates like a muscle. It gets tired with use. By day's end, after making decisions, resisting temptations, and forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do, your willpower is depleted. But your limbic system, the part running automatic habits, never gets tired. It's always ready to execute the programs it knows best. This is why you can eat perfectly all day, then demolish a bag of chips at 9 p.m. Why you can resist social media for hours, then lose 3 hours scrolling before bed. Your willpower ran out, but your habits were just getting started. The solution isn't stronger willpower. It's smarter environmental design. Think about your most successful habit. Something you do consistently without thinking. Maybe brushing your teeth. Maybe putting on your seatbelt. Notice something. These require zero willpower because the environment makes them inevitable. Your toothbrush is right by the sink. Your car won't start until you buckle up. The decision friction has been eliminated, so behavior happens automatically. Now think about a habit you struggle with. Maybe exercising regularly. Where are your workout clothes? Probably in a drawer in a closet, maybe in a laundry basket. How many decisions before you can work out? Find clothes, check if they're clean, get changed, decide what workout to do, figure out where to do it. Each decision is a point of friction, and friction is willpower's kryptonite. This is why effective behavior change happens through friction design, not force. You make good behaviors easier and bad behaviors harder until the path of least resistance leads where you want to go. Here's a practical example. Marcus wanted to read more and scroll less. Instead of relying on willpower to resist his phone, he redesigned his environment. He put his phone in a drawer in another room and placed a book on his nightstand. When he felt the urge to scroll, the book was right there. Zero friction. Getting to his phone required walking to another room and opening a drawer. High friction. Within a week, he was reading for an hour every night without thinking about it. This is automaticity design. You're not changing desires or fighting impulses. You're changing the environment, so impulses lead to better outcomes. Want to eat healthier? Don't keep junk food in the house. The friction of going to the store redirects most impulses toward available healthy food. Want to focus better? Use website blockers during work hours. The friction of disabling the blocker keeps you on task. Want to exercise more? Sleep in your workout clothes. The friction of changing out of them might be enough to get you moving. This isn't about perfection, it's about resistance minimization. You're making good choices slightly easier and bad choices slightly harder, then letting your brain's natural efficiency do the rest. The most successful people don't have superhuman willpower, they have superior system. They've designed environments where good choices happen automatically, and bad choices require effort. Your environment is stronger than your intentions. Your systems are more reliable than your motivation. There's a moment when everything changes. Not when you finally build the perfect routine. Not when you develop unbreakable discipline. But when you stop trying to become someone else and start being who you already are. This is the identity shift, the deepest level of behavioral change. And it happens not through force, but through a quiet revolution in how you see yourself. Most people approach change backwards. They think, if I do the behavior long enough, I'll become that type of person. But neuroscience reveals the opposite. When you become that type of person first, the behavior flows naturally from the identity. Here's how the feedback loop works. Every action you take is both a result of your identity and a vote for your identity. When you go to the gym, you're acting like someone who prioritizes health, but you're also reinforcing the belief that you are someone who prioritizes health. Each repetition doesn't just build the habit, it builds the identity that makes the habit inevitable. Think about someone you know who never misses their morning run. They don't wake up and force themselves to exercise through willpower. They wake up and run because that's what runners do. The behavior isn't separate from their identity, it's an expression of it. This is internalized behavior at its most powerful. The action becomes so aligned with self-concept that not doing it would feel strange, uncomfortable, like acting out of character. But here's the crucial insight. This identity wasn't born overnight. It was built through what psychologists call self-evidence. Small, consistent actions that prove to your brain you are the type of person you claim to be. Picture this. You want to become someone who writes regularly. Instead of setting a goal to write 1,000 words daily, requiring massive willpower, you start by writing one sentence every morning. Just one, but you do it every single day. After a week, your brain starts noticing how I keep doing things writers do. After a month, maybe I am a writer. After 3 months, the identity has shifted so completely that not writing feels wrong. You don't force yourself to write anymore. You write because that's who you are. This is emotional congruence in action. Your behaviors and beliefs about yourself are perfectly aligned, creating a self-reinforcing cycle requiring no external motivation to maintain. The most successful people understand this intuitively. They don't rely on discipline to maintain habits. They rely on identity alignment. They've learned to see themselves as the type of person who naturally does the things they want to do. A successful entrepreneur doesn't force themselves to work on their business. They work because that's what entrepreneurs do. A healthy person doesn't struggle with food choices. They choose healthy foods because that's what healthy people do. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to claim an identity they haven't earned. They declare themselves disciplined, while their actions prove otherwise. They call themselves healthy while eating junk food. Your brain doesn't believe what you say, it believes what you do. When there's mismatch between claimed identity and actual behavior, cognitive dissonance kicks in. Your brain will either change behavior to match identity or change identity to match behavior. Most people accidentally choose the second option. They update their self-concept downward. I guess I'm not disciplined. But you can deliberately choose the first option. Use the discomfort of misalignment as fuel for behavioral change. Start with the smallest possible evidence of your desired identity. Want to be organized? Make your bed. Want to be a reader? Read one page. Each tiny action is a vote for your new identity. When you accumulate enough votes, subconscious integration happens automatically. Your brain updates its model of who you are, and behaviors that once required effort become expressions of character. You've seen behind the curtain. The habit loop isn't your enemy. It's your operating system. And now you know how to reprogram it. You've learned that your brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about survival, efficiency, and emotional reward. But when you understand this, you can work with your neurology instead of against it. You've discovered that motivation is temporary, but identity is permanent. That willpower is finite, but environmental design is infinite. That the most powerful changes happen not through force but through awareness. The person you've been trying to become through discipline and determination, they're not waiting for you to get stronger. They're waiting for you to get smarter. To catch the cue before it triggers the routine. To design friction that guides your choices. To build an identity through evidence, not declaration. To become someone who doesn't need to try so hard. This isn't about perfection. It's about understanding that every habit in your life, good or bad, exists because it once served a purpose. And lasting change happens when you address that purpose more effectively, not when you try to suppress it through force. Your brain will always choose the path of least resistance, but now you can design that path to lead where you actually want to go. The habit loop is always running. The question is, what program is it running? Start small. Start today. Start with one cue, one pattern, one tiny piece of evidence for the person you're becoming. Because real change doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It happens in the quiet space between stimulus and response, where you choose who you want to be. Which pattern? Will you interrupt first? Drop a comment below. Your breakthrough might be exactly what someone else needs to see. Hit subscribe if this opened your eyes to how your brain really works. There's so much more to uncover about the psychology of transformation. Remember, you're not broken. You're just running the wrong program. And programs can always be rewritten.